it might be time to change your oil.
Hey guys, today we're going to cover how we change the oil in our 2012 Ford Chassis gas motorhome while we're on the road. Details coming up on RV Street. Okay, let's get right to it. We do our own oil changes. I don't trust shops to do it right. It gives me a chance also while I'm under there to inspect all kinds of other things going on. You know, just doing a quick overall inspection, make sure all the hoses, no, I don't see any leaks, anything like that. And it's a whole lot cheaper
Oh, yeah.
than outsourcing it to someone else or going and taking it to a shop. And plus I can do it right there at the RV site. It is not a big deal. It's so easy that Joni is going to demonstrate how we're going to do this. And we're going to show you some really cool tips about changing oil and a couple of little things that I've learned that I think are really going to surprise you. The reason Joni is helping me is because it was about a year ago she said, "Martin, I want to learn how to change the oil." And I said, "Okay, you got it." So that's what we're doing. She's part of the maintenance crew. But first, let's cover what we're going to need for this job. We're going to need a large and a small piece of cardboard. The large one will fold out and we'll place under the motorhome so we have a place to crawl onto and make it easier to get underneath the coach. The small piece of cardboard we'll use to place underneath the oil filter just in case we get some drippage when we pull that part. Next, we're going to have two plastic bags. We're going to insert one into the other and you'll see what those are for later. Next, we're going to need some paper towels. Next, we're going to need an old oil receptacle. I have here a black 12-quart recyclable oil container and a piece of clear rubber hose. Next, we're going to keep on standby an oil filter wrench just in case it's a little tight coming off. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. Next, we're going to have a Motorcraft oil filter, part number FL820S. This is the one I recommend and Ford recommends for the F53 chassis. And of course, lastly, 7 quarts of Mobil One full synthetic 520. Next, Joni is going ahead and she's putting the cardboard up underneath the motorhome. We've already got the small piece underneath the oil filter, and now we got the big piece to lay down on while we perform this oil change. Okay, let's get started. We have already ran the engine until it came up to proper temp, about 195 degrees. Then we have shut off the engine and we're going to let it rest for about 30 minutes. We want all that oil go all the way down into the crankcase. You'll see why later this is important. During these 30 minutes, we gathered up all our stuff that we're going to need for this oil change, and we got it sitting here at a table right in front of the coach. So let's go. First thing we're going to do before we crawl under is we're going to remove the oil cap in the engine bay. As you can see, I have removed the oil drain plug and I have replaced it with a Fumoto brass valve drain plug. These things are awesome. This is first tip number 1. You need to get one of these. They're about 34 bucks on Amazon. We're going to take the oil receptacle and move it into place and put the tube inside there and make sure it's down inside the container. And now all Joni has to do is flip up the drain valve and the oil will start coming out the tube. And there you go. See how sweet that is? No wrenches, no sockets, no dripping out onto a pan or the floor or on your anything. It's just put it on that spigot and turn the valve. Now we're going to wait for 30 minutes. Okay, so we're continuing to let the oil drain. We want that to drain for a full 30 minutes. These Ford engines are built tight, and we want to get a complete drain, and it just takes time. But you'll see why in a minute, why I'm saying 30 minutes. So while it continues to drain, we're going to remove the oil filter. And sometimes we have to use a filter, an oil filter wrench like this one, just to break it loose. Yeah, these oil filter wrenches can really be helpful if you can't get a grip or you got arthritis or what have you. So Joni's beginning to loosen it, and it looks like it's broken free, which is good. So now Joni's going to go ahead and start unscrewing it by hand. So now you can just take those plastic bags. I put 2 of them, one inside of another, just in case one leaks. Give you a little added protection. So we go ahead and we place a couple of bags over that, put our hand over it, and continue to unscrew it. And now we're up there with some paper towels and wiping up that cavity up in there where the filter goes. The more times you do this, putting those plastic bags over there really becomes quite easy. Joni does have to struggle a little bit unscrewing it because of her arms. She's not, you know, a big burly guy, but that's why she had to use the wrench. And it took her a little bit more effort to undo that filter. But once the filter's out, it's in the bag, and now we're wiping out this area and getting ready for the new filter. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare the new oil filter to put into the coach. So we're going to take the filter out, and we're going to fill the new oil filter with about up to about 3/4 full. We're going to pour it right down in there, and what will happen is it will fill up, and then it'll start to absorb. Watch, see how it bubbles down? Fill it up some more, Joni. And just keep pouring it in there. It doesn't have to be pretty, but watch it. See, it'll go down and down and down. You keep pouring it. And this is priming the filter. This helps it so when you put it in there, when you put the new filter in there, as soon as you start this engine up, boom, that thing is full of oil. Okay, so that's good for now. And then after you got about 3/4, you take a little bit of that and you wipe it onto the seal of the filter. Okay, now we're back under the coach with our new filter, ready to go. So we're going to bring the filter up, and we're going to put it right back where the old one came. Okay, so we're continuing to tighten. And you want to tighten it to where it's as tight as it can get with your hands. And then you take your second hand and give it just a little bit more. And there you have it. You don't ever want to use an oil wrench to tighten it. You see what she's doing? You do it by hand and you get it nice and snug, and then you want to do it just a little bit more. Once you start driving the engine and it heats and cools and heats and cools, that seal will seat properly in that chamber, so you won't have to worry about it coming loose. It will seal. So there you have it. We have the new oil filter in place, ready to go. Okay, we have let the oil drain for 30 minutes, and so now we're going to take the Fumoto valve and flip it up, thereby shutting off the oil and closing that valve, and turning and removing the plastic piece of tubing. And we're done down here for now. So there you have it. It's all squared away. We've got the filter up in there, and I've actually came behind her and checked the tightness on that. And we've got the Fumoto valve checked to make sure that was flipped off, and then cleaned up any residual oil on the pan. But you got to hand it. This is Joni's second time doing the oil change, and you know, she just gets better and better every time, for sure. So y'all out there, give Joni a big hand. She's got the bottom part done. Now let's go up top and finish this job off. Okay, well, we're getting ready to put the oil, the new oil, back in. And as a precaution, we're going to take a towel and just drape it over the radiator and right up underneath the oil fill cap right here. That way, if we get any drippage or whatever, or we spill any, it won't get on critical parts. So let's start adding oil. Remember, we're putting in 7 quarts. We already put some in the oil filter. I would like to say also that all that old oil, now that we're on the road, I've got that container with all that old oil. The way I dispense of it is I just take it up to Walmart, to the automotive area, and they take care of it for me. AutoZones and O'Reilly's, all those places, they will do the same thing. So it's really easy to get rid of old oil. And lastly, the last thing that I do when this oil change is done is I enter this into my maintenance logs. Okay, Joni's getting ready to do the last quart here. And now that the oil is in, we're going to put the cap back on and we're going to turn it until it clicks. Good. And now we're going to remove the towel bib. We didn't have any accidents, yay.
Yay me.
And now what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to fire this baby up and let it run for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to show you the next really cool tip. When you start it up, the first thing you want to do is get underneath here and look, make sure you have no leaks. And everything is looking good here. We've let it run for about 5 minutes. Now we've shut it off and we've got all that nice new oil goodness all up and through that engine. Now we wait for 30 minutes and I'm going to show you another cool tip. It has been way over 30 minutes. I went ahead and grabbed a bite to eat, and we know now that all of the oil, the new oil that we have put in here, is all drained down to the crankcase. So now we're going to check the dipstick. This is where we added the oil. You cross over to your right, over in front of the air filter, and over here you'll see I have a ring style dipstick. So we're going to pull that, and we're going to pull this out, and we're going to wipe it off, and now we're going to put it back in. We want to get a nice clean reading and make sure it pushes and snaps all the way in. All right, let's pull it out, back out. Let's take a look. Well, look at that there. It is right at the top of that circle. Let's try it one more time. You always want to do a double check. And you can flip it over and look at the back side just to verify. And it is indeed right at the full mark. Now, there's something very important I want to share with you here. Over the years, there's a lot of talk about this on the internet, where someone will put in 7 quarts and the oil will be way up here, way above the fill mark. Some will be down below. And so there's a lot of chatter online on how come my dipstick, when I put in 7 quarts, is not showing correctly. The answer to that question is Ford over the years has made a whole different kinds of assorted dipsticks. Some are round like mine, some have a T, some even have a plug type, a round button type dipstick. Also, as you can see, this dipstick is made out of 2 pieces, and you see where it's riveted right here together? Over the years, Ford has made these, and many of them just weren't accurate. So, how do you fix that problem? If you have a dipstick that when you've done, this is why I showed you in the beginning, it was so important to start it up, heat it, and then 30 minutes let it drain. Because we wanted to make sure all the old oil was out. And when we put in 7 quarts, we know we have accurately added 7 quarts. So if you do that procedure that we just showed you, And now you pull the dipstick out, and your dipstick shows up here as being full. That means that you are one of those that has a Ford dipstick that is not calibrated correctly. So what do? Here's what you do. You take a file and you score right on that line where your oil pan is, where your reading is after you've put in 7 quarts, whether it's up here, it's down here. If it's anything anywhere else above that line right there that Ford puts there, you take a file and you score it. And after you score it, you wipe it off. And from now on, when you put that in and check, you're looking to see if, when you're full, is it up to that score mark? Because score mark for you means full 7 quarts. We do our oil changes between about 3,000 and 5,000 miles. It's whenever we're at a place where it's convenient. You know, we may see a place like, okay, this is the perfect place to do it. We've only put 3,000 miles on it, but hey, we're not going to have a chance for quite a while, so we'll knock it out then. But at the very least, we do it once a year. Joni, I want to thank you for helping out with the maintenance items.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you've been a big help, big help. And listen, guys, if you like this video, if it was helpful, please hit the like button below and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit that notification bell right to the right. It'll notify you when we upload our next video. Okay, that's it for now. This is how we change our motor oil in our 2012 Ford Chassis Winnebago motorhome. This is RV Street. Stick around.